I'm going to be talking about making your organization fall in love with optimization. It should have been timed with Valentine's Day, but whatever. How many of you guys are here from agencies and in-house? Okay, so about 50-50, that's cool. Okay, so, slide about me. What I'm not going to be talking about is about A/B testing, about stats or personalization and research or anything technical. What I do want to talk about, though, is showing you why optimization teams actually struggle to engage with stakeholders, struggle to engage with other departments in their company, or even if you're working in an agency on the client, with your clients, and the exact steps that you need to take to make everyone enthusiastic about optimization. And the final goal, hopefully, if you reach that, is making experimentation a core part of your business. So those are the takeaways I hope you walk away with. When you start optimization for a new client or a new role in an organization, you start off like this. Yeah, we're going to do something really good over here. We're going to run lots of tests. We're going to achieve some big success over here. Gradually, as time goes on, you're a bit like this. Like, oh God, I can't get these tests live. I can't do stuff. This other department is saying something. And then, over the last year, I've been traveling, giving talks, doing workshops. I kept hearing the same thing over and over again. Stuff like this. This is actually why someone in the room, so it's all kind of hidden. Originally hired to refine the website development strategy through A/B testing, management decisions were made on the fly, neglecting the real findings from A/B testing. Who here relates to something like that happening? Everyone's like, okay, I don't want to say that. It's happening everywhere. Seriously, it's big companies and small companies. You're doing the work, you're doing the research, but ultimately you're getting pushback either from the client or from the management or from other departments, like devs taking ages to deploy tests. I'm sure everyone has had that happen. And it feels like you're basically running on a marathon on a treadmill. You're really getting nowhere. You're doing all this work, but ultimately you're in the same position where you started a few months ago. And then we look at all these companies that have been mentioned even this evening. Skyscanner, Booking. These guys are like, whoa, you guys are over there. You're doing all these tests. You've got cross-functional teams. Everyone's talking about experimentation. And here we are struggling to get like a simple button test out the door because the developers fighting us at every stage. And so we look at ourselves and we think, hang on, these developers are pushing back. We're here to save the company. We're here to be the Avengers. We're here to, bring in maximum revenue for the company. Why are they not believing us? Jeffrey Eisenberg, if you don't know, he's like the godfather of CRO. He said, this was at a conference that I run, Conversion World. He said this about 2 years ago now. CRO isn't perceived as a strategic advantage. It's seen as a tactic relegated to junior managers and at first to cut line item when tightening corporate budgets. In the last year itself, I've seen 3 CRO teams disbanded because there were changes in the company. And these are not small companies. These are not small companies with that are just experimenting with CRO. These are full-blown teams that just get pushed aside because changes happen. And you think about it. Why are they throwing away the CRO team? And then a situation like this ends up, where we're essentially fighting the other departments, this dark versus light or whatever. You're trying to fight and trying to prove your point. The real reason is that CRO still exists as a silo in an organization. We try and think, okay, we don't want silos in the organization. We want to work with everyone. But ultimately, we're still working in a silo. Think about your team, your optimization team. You're still working with each other in one part of the business. And here's the other truth. The other people in the company, the managers, the stakeholders, they don't actually care about your experiments. The reason for that is you did not make them care about it. You're running these experiments. Okay, when I say experiments, it's also about learning, research and stuff. You did not make them care about it. So why should they care about it? And the other truth is your company probably didn't start out as an optimization first company. You look at Amazon, you look at Booking, these are all companies that are built on optimization. They're continuously learning, continuously iterating. Your company probably read a blog somewhere and said, okay, they're doing it, we should start doing it as well, right? And that's how over the last few years, a lot of companies started building optimization teams because they thought our competitors are doing it, we need to do it as well. But that situation exists. We're still seen as the small little unit, whereas the wider business goes on around us, completely oblivious to what we actually do. So think back to when you first started your role, or when you first started working with an agent, with a client on the agency side, or when you first started your role in the company as the optimizer or optimization manager. What did you do? Probably one of two things. The first thing, you'd probably brought in all your stakeholders and said, okay, I'm going to do a good workshop over here and show you how this world of A/B testing works. So this is A, this is B, and so on and so forth, and you're giving them the full technical shindig of A/B testing. And there they are, okay, they're listening, making notes. But it is literally going in one ear and then going out the other ear. Because their general life, or in the workplace, doesn't actually revolve around what you do. The other thing that people do, if they don't do this, is they go straight into the analytics audits or the UX audits or the actual work itself, completely ignoring the human aspect, completely ignoring the stakeholders and just going straight into their work because that's what they know. So I want to give you like 4 steps on how to improve this process. If you are starting a role, if you're starting to work with a client, how to actually bring them on your side, how to actually engage them, how to actually make optimization work as a team at the end of the day. So the 4 steps are engage, educate, make it visible, and ultimately help them collaborate as well. The first step is engage. Now you want to empathize with them. You need to get to their level, and you need to understand this. They have their own KPIs and their own backlog. You go to them and tell them, yeah, we've got this really cool experiment stuff like we're going to run, and we want you to stop what you're doing and pay attention over here. They aren't going to pay attention. Try doing the same thing if an SEO approaches you and the SEO starts talking about their stuff and you're like, SEO is dead, right? But seriously, try and understand what they care about in the first place, what their backlog is, what their KPIs, what their success metrics are, if anything. Because they ultimately don't care about your silly little test. How does your work impact them? Try and engage with them about that. Try and understand, try and get on the same level with them. What are their ultimate goals? Once you've done that, then try and educate them. But don't educate them in this boring workshop way where you're like, okay, this is A/B testing, A, B, and this is how we're going to do it. Because that's what you'll get ultimately. Or they'll be like, yep, this looks good, right? And they'll walk out of there and throw that in the bin. You want to engage them in ways that make it fun for them, and in ways that they will remember that process and will try and remember what you do. So a few ways I've helped some companies do this is, there's anyone doing lunch and learn over here? There's one James over there. So lunch and learn, essentially something like this, right? It could be something as fun as getting some beers, okay, not during work hours. Get some Cokes and some snacks or some lunch, and get everyone to share. Don't just do it like one person talking to the other person. If the SEO person is over there, get them to share. Get everyone engaging on that. The aim of this session is to build relationships on a personal level. You're trying to build bridges with these different departments. You want to be working with them. So the sessions like this, where everyone's perspective is seen and valued, helps you in the long run. The second thing is organizing a testing hackathon. This is a really fun event. Anyone been to a hackathon? You've done that? You've done that? That technical one, like a developer hackathon? Yeah, there we go. So it comes from the developer sort of background where like people will have loads of coffee, lots of computers, and just hack the night away and just build something new. In a testing hackathon, what you want to do is ultimately show the other departments and the managers what an optimization process actually looks like, without actually making it like a one-way talk. So to organize a testing hackathon is really simple. Bring people like this together, cross-functional, from every department, so it could be developers, designers, stakeholders, managers, etc., and then break them up into cross-functional groups. So every group has a designer, a developer, an optimization person, a manager. And then one person leads it and says, okay, these are the problems we've been seeing. Show them some clips from the user testing sessions, show them some heat maps or click maps, explain it to them in really simple terms. And then say, how would you solve the problem? Okay? Break yourselves up into teams. How would you solve it? Just sketch it out. You don't need to get technical. You don't need to write this massive hypothesis. How would you solve it? And then ask them to bet on it. Now, every team has a developer, hopefully, if it's broken up in the right way. Every team has a designer. Every team has a manager. Things can get super competitive in that way. You can get the developers from those teams to actually build the tests, deploy it, and then see what comes up. Put the stuff on a leaderboard. Get people enthusiastic about it. Put the results of that leaderboard somewhere where everyone sees it. And that way, they've somehow seen the process of optimization without actually, running those A/B tests in an academic way, or just in theory. They're seeing it in action. And then they will, once they've seen the power of that experiment winning, if anything, they will want to contribute more ideas. They will want to come up to you and say, we want to try this out, try that out. Making it visible. So I said, okay, let's get this leaderboard up, but what else could you do? Go to everyone that you talk to, your stakeholders, your department heads, your managers. What do they need to know and see ultimately? You're running all these tests. What's in it for them? How does it impact them? So go to them and ask them, what do you need to see? And then make it visible. Make it visible through dashboards, make it visible through roadmaps, show them progress updates, show them success metrics, show them the revenue uplift ultimately, because it's everything somehow then gets tied to revenue. And they need to see that revenue uplift. The relevant dashboards, relevant KPIs for the relevant people. Break it down, segment those dashboards for those people. Obligatory slide. Next one. Help them collaborate, right? Ultimately, what you want them to do is you want them involved in your world, but you can't force that on them. You can't just make that happen overnight. This is a process that takes time, and it takes a lot of effort on your end. Now, as optimizers, we're often taught, go and dig in the data, come up with these hypotheses, but there's never really that human emphasis on connecting with the other people that ultimately we want on our side, that we want helping us through this process. Because if you don't do this, the flip side happens is 6 months down the line, you go to your stakeholders and they're like, I'm not seeing any real benefit of this optimization process over here. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm not seeing any results over here. And that happens. So help them collaborate. Allow them to make their voice heard. Crowdsource the ideas from them. So, where in a company where the biggest idea is held, who speaks to customers the most? Your customer support teams, the people that are on the phones, the people that are on live chat. They have so many ideas, but are you giving them a platform? Are you giving them a way to contribute their ideas in a way that they can send those ideas to you? What are customers talking about? Provide timely feedback to them. Because ultimately, if you don't provide feedback, if you don't give a feedback loop on saying your ideas are valid, not valid, is it good, is it bad, you are going to lose their support as well, because they are there doing a thankless job sometimes. And if you don't give them feedback, why should I give you more ideas? It's not part of my job. Why should I do that? So this is David Ogilvy. He said half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half. Now, that also happens in companies because we are doing a lot of product development. We're trying to improve sites, but ultimately, if we don't experiment on it, we will not know which half is actually being wasted with the product development. By testing, you can actually show them the strategic value of that, of experimentation, of those learnings, how you can drive the value forward and remove all those wasted efforts and wasted time on developing the product. And the end result of all of this, if you manage to get all those people on board, everyone starts becoming an optimizer themselves. Everyone starts becoming someone that wants to experiment without having to go upstream for it or go to a specific person or department in the company. And that's how you get companies like Booking. That's how you get companies like Skyscanner, where everyone wants to run experiments. I was doing a workshop in the Netherlands, and Ronnie Kohavi from Bing, Microsoft was in that. Somehow he was there. And he said, I was telling people like how development resources is really hard in companies. And he was like, well, in Bing, every developer experiments. And I was like, okay, that's Bing. These are other companies down there. But that's the point. Ultimately, if you're giving people the means to experiment, it becomes a self-learning organism, which can then take on the competition as well. Because markets change, everything changes around you, but your company is adapting to that. And ultimately, you then make everyone fall in love with optimization. So you can do this with tools like this. We've talked about Trello, Google Docs, etc. And here's some obligatory slides as well. And that's it. If you want to learn more about effective experiments, that's the site. And that's it from me.